Gen Z entering the workforce comes with its own set of opportunities and challenges. Young minds, young people bring a different and more rapid and sharp way of thinking into the organization, which organizations love. But organizations need them to be more job ready because these people are raw and inexperienced.
As the finance services sector is evolving at a rapid pace, it demands more than just the technical expertise. What it needs today is a future-ready mindset and continuous learning. At the helm of this transformation is Arati Porwal, country head for CFA Institute. She is very passionate about developing young minds and helping them achieve their goals and that of the industry. Through this insightful conversation with People Matters, Arati shares her perspectives in the changes and trends in the talent development in finance sector and also the role the CFA Institute is playing in helping young professionals achieve their goals. Thank you so much, Arati, for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be on the People Matters platform, especially considering the level of people leadership that you meet and reach.
We are equally excited and are looking forward to a very insightful conversation talking about the talent trends, how CFA Institute is playing a critical role and is helping young minds, young individuals, help them achieve their goals. To begin with, I really want to talk about your starting journey, how you started, or maybe that one pivotal moment that really stayed back with you and really helped you mold your professional path.
I think the pivotal moment that came to me in my professional path was when I realized, after being in the financial services industry for over 13 years, that I need to move away from just about developing financial products to developing the talent pool that is required to run the industry. Considering the challenges that I saw at close sight in the financial services industry, it was quite evident to me that the industry really needs upskill, relevant talent to grow in the future, which is ethically grounded. And especially that last part seemed to be something that needed to work on. And that's when I looked at organizations that focused on developing talent pool and had a strong grounding in ethics. And I came across Global Professional Qualifications. I first led the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants in India and then moved to working with the CFA Institute. Both these organizations really helped me to achieve those key goals that I was looking for.
You've been with the CFA Institute for, I guess, 10 years now?
Yes.
Yeah. In this whole journey, you're talking about skilling and upskilling. Upskilling being a continuous process. How have you seen that change? And looking at young minds and organizations also focusing on continuously developing skills for their employees. What are those core skills that you probably have identified which is needed in the finance and investment industry?
The financial services industry and the landscape around the industry are changing rapidly. And the financial services industry meets a very large human requirement. It manages human wealth, which is, according to me, the second most important human asset after human health. And therefore, the industry has to really keep its edges sharp, both in terms of skills, talent, products, and it also needs to ensure that it is prepared for the various external environmental changes that impact the industry. This includes, in recent times, the huge geopolitical turmoil that we see across the industry, across the world. It includes artificial intelligence and machine learning and how it is reshaping the way we work. It includes the need to be constantly grounded in ethics, because investor trust is absolutely essential for the industry to sustain and grow. So every organization therefore faces this challenge of continuously needing to upskill and reskill its talent pool to meet these evolving areas or requirements. At the same time, I think that people once in the workforce have their own challenges when it comes to learning. The way they can absorb or would like to absorb learning changes. The amount of time and resources they can provide to learning changes. And what also changes is the ability to pay or spend on upskilling and reskilling. The motivations for that also change. Considering all this, organizations face the challenge of having to figure out how do they deliver relevant skills in a manner that is easily absorbable and meets the motivation and requirements of the individual employee or person working in the organization. I think the key areas of upskilling, therefore, that organizations have to look at is ensuring that they have a good mix of professional qualifications and certifications, meaning long-term rigorous qualifications which require commitment and which lead to a real upgradation in skills but take longer. And second is small bit-sized learning pieces that meet immediate tactical learning goals and are easy to absorb. A good mix of this is what I would call a good portfolio of learning opportunities for people working in the industry.
We'll talk more on the opportunities bit, but as you're talking about the changes, I also want to, highlight a bit on the recruitment practices, how they are changing. So if I talk about particularly the finance and investment sector, what are those changes, or maybe what are the things that employers are now really prioritizing when they are hiring for their organizations?
So in the financial services industry, I see that one good thing is that financial services, especially investment management, continues to remain an aspirational career opportunity for young people. So there's a huge talent pool available who is ready and preparing to enter this industry. The key challenge for employers, which has been there from the beginning, especially in India, is that the number of jobs are few and the supply is quite high. So how do you select from that large talent pool? What are the priorities or parameters that you set when you are recruiting? Our employers are relying a lot on technology, especially artificial intelligence, to filter resumes. And filtration criteria also are evolving. We find that a lot of employers are using professional qualifications as a filtration mechanism when it comes to selecting resumes of people. So at the first level itself, if you have a professional qualification, say like the CFA program in your resume, it sends out a very clear message to your prospective employer. And what are those messages? One, that you are committed to a career in finance or investment management. That too, you have the ability for managing a rigorous and long-term process. You are also committed to upskilling yourself and therefore have taken up a professional qualification. 4, that you have a very strong ethical grounding because you have signed up to the standards of practice and code of conduct of the organization or the institute. So this helps organizations to filter out the right talent or the right basic requirements that are required for people to work in the industry. The second piece that I see that talent acquisition has seen in terms of evolution is in terms of building in diversity. In the investment management industry especially, organizations have found that investment decision making becomes more robust when there is diversity in the decision making process. So diversity makes business sense, and that's why organizations are trying hard to ensure that they acquire and retain a more diverse set of people in their talent pool, which is not just about gender diversity, it's about socio-economic diversity, diversity in terms of thought processes, exposure and culture.
Talking about that CFA advantage, and you reflected that a bit on that. Talking about the learning preferences which you earlier mentioned in the conversation, with the change in the preferences, with the change in the career expectations, how are institutes like CFA adapting to this whole new change, or maybe the change in their approach, given the fact that a lot of Gen Zs are entering the workforce now, and we are now, to some extent, when we're talking in 2025, there are at least 5 different generations working in the workforce. So there's a lot that is happening. So particularly talking about the young minds, how is CFA Institute adapting to their change in preferences or their career expectations?
I mean, the Gen Z entering the workforce comes with its own set of opportunities and challenges. Young minds, young people bring a different and more rapid and sharp way of thinking into the organization, which organizations love. But organizations need them to be more job ready because these people are raw and inexperienced. So the organization's focus when it comes to recruiting is on skills. How job ready are you? Are your skills absolutely sharp to work in the organization and to help the organization? For the young people, the Gen Zs, learning has changed. The way they absorb information, knowledge has changed. They are aspirational, ambitious about the jobs they want, but they want to learn in bits and pieces. They like bite-sized learning. They want applicable skills which they can use immediately and which they see are relevant to the work that they would like to do or would want to do. So considering all that, CFA Institute has evolved its programs to meet the requirements of the industry as well as the Gen Z talent pool. We brought in a lot of focus on practical skills. We introduced something called the practical skills modules into the CFA program, to which are bite-sized learning pieces and which deliver skills that make our candidates more job ready, and they are aligned to the requirements of the industry. The second thing that we have done is we have moved our learning into an interactive learning ecosystem. So you do not necessarily have to study from thick textbooks anymore. You actually study through an interacting learning ecosystem that guides you through the curriculum in bits and pieces and shows you how you can schedule your learning, tests you through mock questions after every course and module, and clearly outlines the learning outcomes from each section. So we brought in more of that bite-sized learning and interactive learning process into how we deliver the curriculum. The third thing we have done is ensure that the curriculum has segmentation in terms of the new industry areas that are evolving. So in level 3 of the CFA program, we've introduced pathways in private markets and private wealth, which are evolving areas where financial services professionals are more and more employed or are required, and are also where opportunities for entrepreneurship are growing in the financial services industry. While doing all this, we've ensured that we have not changed the focus on ethics across our curriculum, our programs and certifications, because that fundamental grounding and relevance of ethics continues to remain. It's a requirement of the industry and it's a need in terms of the talent pool as well.
Sure. Building on that role that CFA is playing today, I want to talk about the change in the roles as well. So Arati's finance roles are also evolving and it's going beyond just the technical skills. How is CFA Institute adapting itself to build those leadership and strategic skills in the professional environment and helping these young minds?
So through our Future of Finance research, we focus on what we call T-shaped skills. T-shaped skills means a breadth of knowledge across diverse areas and a depth of knowledge about specific technical areas. And that's what defines the professionals in the current industry as well as in the future. What we as CFA Institute, as a professional body, do is develop a strong depth in terms of technical skills and knowledge. But we support our people to acquire the breadth of information and knowledge across the various diverse areas through our professional learning and upskilling activities, and thus creating a completely strong and well-rounded professional for the industry. That's how we work on it. The other area that we focus on is ensuring that, as you mentioned, people are ready and equipped with technical skills for the future as well. Areas such as sustainability, areas such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, the focus on geopolitics, macroeconomics, all this continuously remain a part of our curriculum and are expanded regularly to keep our professionals relevant and ready for the future of the industry.
Talking about sustainability, like you mentioned about the other sectors also, which are, there has been a demand that has been seen, be it sustainability or fintech or alternate investments. It's very, very important for any body, any institute to, continuously adapt to the changes. You mentioned about blockchain, and today we are all talking about artificial intelligence. How is the CFA Institute adapting its curriculum to these, fast-paced changes?
So when it comes to sustainability, like other areas, is that we've created stacks of professional qualifications. So I'll take sustainability as an example. So in terms of ensuring that the industry has access to talent that is required to build sustainability into investment decision making, we have a stack of certifications in that area. The second piece is focusing on thought leadership. We convene a lot of people, organizations, as well as institutions and individuals to create thought leadership that focuses on how sustainability is not only necessary but is part of business processes and needs to be. We continuously looking through thought leadership at measuring the impact of activities that develop a stronger, more sustainable business and industry. The third area that we focus on in terms of sustainability is ensuring that there is a network. So we have worked with CFA Society India, our member association, to create sustainable investment forums where people are able to connect, network, and therefore have impact in terms of how industry continues to evolve in the area of sustainability. Last but not the least, we have codes and standards that guide industry and institutions across the world towards a uniform thought process on implementing these sustainability, incorporating sustainability, or sort of speaking the same language when it comes to sustainability across the world. This is how we ensure that there is a holistic development of these areas across the industry as well as in a person's learning life.
Talk about holistic development. A very important issue that comes, is the gender gap. So despite a lot of conversations around, leadership opportunities for women, a lot of things about diversity and inclusion, but the fact remains that be it at global level or in India, the representation is still, at the lower end. So what exactly are those structural changes or challenges probably that continue to hinder the growth for women, and how can financial firms like CFA Institute help women build those long-term careers?
I think I'm going to give you a very long answer on that, focusing on various aspects, so please bear with me. I think the challenge with gender diversity is still very strong, especially at the leadership level. Our recent Mind the Gender Gap survey which surveyed over 300 listed firms, showed that there is only an 11% presence of women in the key management positions or KMP roles in the top 300 firms. So what is more is almost 2/3 of these firms did not even have a single woman amongst their key management professionals. So obviously the challenge of the lack of presence of women, especially in leadership, is very strong. What does that mean for organizations? It means a less diverse workforce. It means the lack of representation of a voice of half the population. And that's not good for any organization or industry in its evolution. So the industry recognizes that, fortunately, and is working very hard to ensure that gender diversity is built in, and we are working with the industry to try and bring in that change. The key thing is firstly ensuring that there's a sufficient talent pool of women available for organizations to recruit from. So we're trying to do programs or initiatives with organizations to ensure that we identify and train young female talent that's ready to join the workforce. The second and the more important challenge is keeping the women workforce in the industry and on their career path. There is more work to be done. The first and foremost requirement is mentorship. So with CFA Society India, we've developed a mentorship program for women only, where women mentors support women mentees through their career path. And the third and most important part is giving voice, making sure that the industry is aware continuously that there is work to be done. And that's where our thought leadership and research like the Mind the Gender Gap report come in. And I wouldn't say that this journey is over. It's continuous and there's still a lot more to do. We're just very glad that the industry recognizes this as a challenge and is working proactively to try and resolve it.
The CFA Institute is doing a lot around this gender diversity, but also I want to listen from you. What is that one advice that you want to give to young professionals, especially women who are just beginning their journey in the investment and finance sector?
My one line would be stick to the path. Resilience is what is required eventually to succeed. Life is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So a lot of people enter, but finally very few reach the finishing line. So we need to increase that number of people who actually reach the finishing line.
That's a great thought. From your experience so far in the industry, what would you say, or how would you see the role of professional certifications evolving, maybe say in the next 5 or 10 years?
I would say upskilling is not going away anywhere. So young people and the talent pool even within organizations and outside of organizations need to know that learning never stops. So it's best that along with their organizations, they develop a learning pathway. Just like you develop a career pathway for yourself, every individual should have a learning pathway. And it is imperative that organizations support individuals in accomplishing their learning pathway as much as they focus on career pathways, because these two are intertwined, interlinked. They cannot stay separate from one another.
Just one last thought on this initiative or this conversation that we had. So what are your thoughts on People Matters and also this initiative that we took?
Firstly, once again, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you on the People Matters platform. I'm really very happy that I'm here and I get to engage with you and with the people leaders who are part of your network and platform. I think People Matters has and continues to contribute extensively to dialogue and change when it comes to talent acquisition, learning, and the process of development within organizations. So thank you very much for the efforts that you continue to take.
Thank you so much, Arati, for sharing your expertise, your experience, and your passion with us, the passion that you carry for young professionals. So this was Arati sharing her thoughts and insights on the talent trends in the finance sector. Thank you so much.